Okay, so fingers crossed all of this works because I have not recorded anything like this before. And first time. So I have this kind of idea that's been rattling around in my brain because I tried to come up with a simple, easy comic concept that I wouldn't be too invested in so I could use it as practice work. And I thought, ooh, what if I had assassins who were also women in Playboy bunny costumes? I know. Kind of as an idea. Um, and then I started drawing the characters, and I'm invested now. So roll the speed paint. So yeah. So I designed. Actually, you can't see her yet. She's the one I designed first. But the one on that one's Nico. She's kind of shy. She has a dark, terrible secret, and it's straight up just her AO3 account. I just kind of wanted to make a green one, to be honest. A lot of these characters, I don't start my drawing with a defined character idea. I just think, I want to do green. I want to make her short. I want to use, and it's just kind of intuition, I guess you'd say. The one next to her, that's CL, who is not named after the, she's named after the Model Land character, like the book. Um, she was originally going to have dark hair. It was going to be kind of longer, but I ended up not liking that. She's dubiously French. I haven't, to be honest, I've designed her parents and neither of them is actually French, but I don't know, the vibe, there's the vibe somewhere. Um, that's Catalina and she gave me her design gave me the hardest time probably of like all of them. I know you can see that I'm kind of fiddling around with the proportions. And like, yeah, this is a super rough drawing, which is why I'm just coloring my sketch instead of doing my fun fancy line art. Yeah, but you can see that I'm using the reference colors from another reference because this actually isn't the first drawing, it's just the first time I drew all of them together. Oh, and I finally remembered to give CL shoes. To be honest, yeah, they were a color scheme and a couple of the character comes, I don't know, it just comes to me in a dream. These are the sort of relationships. Yeah, then I started doing more detailed reference sheets. Please ignore the hideous sketch happening at the top. I didn't end up going with that. It was just, it was warm up, but not warm up that was particularly good. Yes, I'm drawing over the references. I felt like it. I was tired. Usually I do a sketch and then draw from my sketch, but yeah. Okay, why is this is in like really grainy quality? Um, fingers crossed it looks better in the at the end. Maybe it's just grainy for me. But yeah, so she has like her casual outfit. That's what she wears for her job interview. Oh God, I haven't explained the plot. So basically that's Bunny, and she's kind of broke and needs a job. So she applies to be sort of a rollerblading waitress at this floating. Yes, it is a floating restaurant with the waitresses on rollerblades, roller skates. I am aware that is probably several kinds of workplace safety violation, but like, to be honest, there are weirder things going on. Um, but she gets there and she realizes that besides the whole waitress, um, there's another thing that they do, but I can't really remember. There's some sort of idol element that I had at the start, and I never entirely integrated it. I just wanted them to do idol performances. So besides that, they also have a secret side duty to, like excise evil by going into the minds of people. It's Persona 5, okay? Once I draw it out, it will become slightly less transparently at Persona 5. Um, I don't know, love child. But there's a lot of Persona in there. I also haven't entirely figured out quite how this bit works, but she works at a restaurant. It's also a casino because And why make money only from your food when you could also have gambling machines? You know? Um, yeah, so I designed a bunny first, and then I designed all the other girls based off of like what I felt reflected on off her design. That's Nico. So yeah, I do sometimes draw her in sort of Jirai sort of related stuff. I haven't. She doesn't really wear the classic color scheme, and I haven't drawn her in. I've drawn her in short skirts as well. I just kind of like that sort of oversized silhouette on her because she's. I don't know. I just yeah. Oh god, that sketch was so terrible. So something on her sketches, yeah. So I didn't end up giving them the other one's idol outfit, so I'm not entirely sure how I'm gonna like integrate that element. I might not, to be honest. Yeah, so Nico's like she's shy, doesn't have a great time with social interactions, and she likes to write, but she doesn't tell anyone about her writing because she thinks it's like embarrassing. And one of her parents is some sort of, I don't know, elf or something. That's why she's got pointy ears and a tail. To be honest, the world building is pretty vague because I kind of put it into an existing setting that I'd already done some writing for, but I don't have very much art of that, so it's kind of hard to explain what what's going on, I guess. You'll notice that her design, her kind of this outfit is different than it looked earlier, because I've decided to have one design for when she's like less confident in herself and one design for like afterwards to sort of represent the change. Um, and also because I really like drawing those tights and it was really fun. And I wanted to include the boots, and the boots wouldn't work with the leg warmers, so you know. I draw a lot of leg warmers for this. I really like drawing them. It also makes drawing shoes easier because I hate drawing shoes. Shoes are evil. Um, yeah. I mean, to be honest, the persona stuff is mostly narrative inspiration. A lot of the sort of aesthetic stuff does come from other things, like the Studio Trigger Cutie Honey remake, which I like and not very many other people like. I have taste which is not commonly shared. Yeah, so this is CL and it's giving her kind of like I'm giving her kind of fun, casual outfits. You'll notice that both Bunny and CL kind of constantly have something over their necks. Because they both have like a little secret thing they're self-conscious about. Bunny's is to do with the fact that she's kind of committing. She arrived in the city several years ago, but she isn't technically supposed to be there. I mean, technically, legally, she's dead. So she's kind of living under a false identity in another country. For backstory reasons that I don't entirely want to go into it because I feel like keeping it under wraps will make it like seem that will make it more like impactful when I actually do the comic. You know, I'll happily tell you like Nico's secret or whatever because I think knowing from the start makes it even funnier when she tries to hide it. Whereas Bunny's secret is kind of a thing that it's not really a thing that I think it's better as a mystery. But I do draw ominous symbolism laden art about it. I just don't tell anyone what the symbolism means. Because explaining Euroseed law is overrated. Posting ominous symbolism and then dipping immediately is where, you know, the fun is at. Yeah, I kind of have a hard time with CL's outfits because I mean a lot of the time I'm having to sort of stretch the body proportions of the references because, you know, this is a Bunny's kind of average. This is just kind of a generic shape. But CL is quite tall. I just imagine her quite tall, and sometimes I do also draw her wearing heels, which would make her even taller. Yeah, her waitress outfit kind of gave me trouble until I realized I could just draw her in a slightly edited version of Toka's outfit from Tokyo Ghoul, which I watched when I was young and impressionable. You know, I wouldn't say that I'm into it now, but it kind of is a thing that I look at and I'm like, oh, I remember that. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with CL's outfits because she has sort of the broadest color palette, I guess, in like even just in these like original drawings. Yeah, I had a hard time with the body stuff for Catalina as well because there's not a lot of like reference models who are that sort of shape. Because a lot of what you're relying on is fashion photography, and that ranges from the that's not a particularly body diverse job. Yeah, so I ended up drawing her in like a lot of big jumpers because the proportions I'm really just winging it. I like her little hair though. It's kind of funny how like three quarters of the group have short hair, and Nico's hair is also she has like a jellyfish cut, so there's not a lot of long hair in this group. Yeah, because originally CL was going to have long hair. Originally she had long dark hair actually. That was kind of the concept I was going for, and then I don't know, the ginger and the bob just spoke to me. I don't know. It wasn't like yeah. I imagine Catalina's like way of dressing as sort of mid 2010s Tumblr girl. Um, Sometimes I do incorporate sort of more J fashion elements, but I think mostly she dresses like she runs an aesthetic Tumblr. Um, her and CL have matching jackets for their waitress outfits, and her skirt is actually the same style as the one that I drew on Nico for her first waitress. She has two, but Nico gets two different waitress outfits because the first one I drew didn't really fit with her initial personality as it is at the start of the story. This is the first sketch that I did for this. God, yeah. Um, I'm so glad that Bunny is a little less gray now. The blonde hasn't really changed apart from the fact her hair has gotten kind of greener. I'm not explaining who this blonde girl is because she's from later in the story and the circumstances that lead up to her being it's not spoilers per se, but I think I mean you can kind of guess what sort of relationship her and Bunny have based on the way that I draw them together. I should clarify that Bunny is not her real name, technically. But again, there's a lot of weird identity, legality problems going on with her. And yeah, Bunny's backstory. Initially, she was a very generic, sort of happy-go-lucky, sort of cinnamon sunshine kind of, like a sweet protagonist, and she's just gotten steadily more mentally unwell. I don't know, like she's quite a defensive person, and yet look, they're having I drew her again. I did go through a phase of drawing a decent amount of art of her. Not all of it is here because some of it was bad. Not really, but some of it was I don't like it enough to justify including it, um, and making the video like 40 minutes long. But I'm drawing her fun little bob. This is before I decided she should cover her neck, which was kind of a again, I don't start I draw to get my ideas. I don't have ideas really before I start drawing. I'm not sure how good or popular that is as a technique, but it is the way that I do things. And she's got the little blue ribbons on her shoulders because when I draw her in the dress version of this outfit, she has those little sleeves. But without the sleeves, which I wasn't going to put on this because I thought they'd look awkward, and I also wanted the outfits to seem kind of different, which is why one of them has stockings, one of them has tights. They do have the same arm accessories, but I think something needs to stay the same, you know? So there's the ribbons versus the sleeves, and the tights versus the stockings, and then the leg warmers, which I don't remember if I drew those on the other one. I'm kind of recording this in one take, because otherwise I'd never get it done. But yeah. Um the way I draw her skin tone does kind of vary between drawings because I change it sometimes to make it sort of fit with the palette better. Just imagine that between in some of them she's a little more, I don't know, sun-kissed, you know? Yeah, I love that little kind of clear bracelet that she's got. I love those bracelets. I never wear them because they're really annoying, but I love drawing them. Oh, this is sort of concept of Bunny is like, so she arrives in the big city. She doesn't have a name yet. It will eventually, I promise. I'm just not very good at naming places. Um, Also, the speed paint is this way around because I eventually flipped it into landscape, and that's just how Ibis Paint does things. That's just how they do rotation. So yeah, so that's her. She arrives in the city at about like 16, 17 and starts hanging out with a bunch of art school kids. She is progressively becoming slightly less of a mess. Um, yeah, I mean, these are her friends. She doesn't really think of herself as their friend because she has a hard time with that sort of thing. But you know, they are her friends. And also I love her cute little kind of grown out haircut. It's just like it's adorable. I mean, yeah, I really do love these characters. And I think they're really, really cute. Oh, this is relevant to part of Bunny's backstory that I haven't entirely. I'll get to it when I get to it. You know, I have a good idea, but it's not quite the time for it, you know? Um, References to a particular and somewhat controversial film featuring Brooke Shields are deliberate. Um, the best way I can explain it is that the blonde child was a sort of a child actress who is relevant to the reason that Bunny does not live where she used to. And also the fact that she's living under a fake identity after, you know, being presumed dead. But like, oh, and she ran away and she left by joining the circus. She lived with the circus for like a year and a half. Um, because that's a very practical way of, you know, she had to be incognita. Yeah. I don't know. I drew this because I wanted to draw something slightly. Yeah, OC symbolism does make me feel slightly cringe, but you know, that doesn't stop me from doing it. It just means I don't do it very much. I feel like too much of it, you know. Yeah, there's a bit. I haven't completely worked up that. Oh, we're back to these are little illustrations I drew to bulk out their like unveil pages. So this is Nico. Oh, I forgot to include a speed paint in this. I did make Yuri of Nico and CL. You can see it in the corner there. Um, because that's what they do. I mean, honestly, initially that was not the plan, but I just realized that their arcs worked really well together, and this was kind of a neat way to. they're just quite opposite characters who also like they both struggle with social communication, but in very different ways. CL can seem a bit overbearing, but Nico can seem a bit standoffish. And also CL is a huge fan of a particular author's online novels, a particular anonymous author. I just think it's really funny if you're having like an anxiety moment in the break room at work, and then your coworker tries to comfort you, but when she references a book she read recently, you realize it's your fan fiction. Um, I just think it's kind of funny. Yeah. I like drawing CL in fun outfits. Her fashion is a huge part of her personality. Not personality, but like a huge part of her character. She's a model. Her mother was a model as well. I for some reason decided that her mother is specifically used to be an air hostess. Um, her mother is an air hostess, and her father comes from money. I'm not going to go too into it because, again, plot relevant detail that I think is better left a surprise. But let's just say that some parts of his family aren't entirely approving of the fact that he has a child with an air hostess. And the fact that said child is out there in sort of the way that CL is. The pop of green in her color palette, um, is based on the fact that I'm kind of pairing her and Nico up, so there's a little bit of green just to like to show that they're more similar than they might seem or something. I'm not. Yeah, I don't know. It was kind of a thing I did intuitively. Um, Catalina, it comes from a decently well-off family. They're huge philanthropists and they're big in the arts. So she does have to do a lot of gala dinners. But then when she's not at those gala dinners, she does not dress up particularly. I mean, she wears a lot of. I mean, she's wearing heels in part of her reference sheet, but I don't really imagine her as someone who like wears loads of. I don't know. She's not someone who cares particularly about how other people see her. Because they don't really. The opinions of strangers don't really matter to her because, her parents like her. She has a good relationship with her parents, which does make her stand out among the group, actually. Um, anyway, that appears to be time, people. That appears to be time. We are done. Bye. Oh, it's not. It just jumped back to this. Anyway, thank you to my Ko-fi members, Koba and Lolsaid, and my supporters, Koba, Lolsaid, Mango, and Nigel. You can follow me on various, like and subscribe. You can follow me on various other platforms, including Instagram, TikTok. I'll put it all in the YouTube description, but keep in mind that there isn't a whole lot of art on my Instagram or TikTok. I occasionally post art on my story, but I don't tend to leave it as a permanent post. If you're looking for more art, the best place to find it is DeviantArt. I put my characters on Unveil. Sometimes I write about them on. I have like writing up on Tapas. I don't have any comics yet. And you can join the Discord to get a sneak peek at stuff like this. And also, um, the fact that I am a neurotic over planner who spends months planning all my cosplays. And there's pictures of you can see her right in the middle on this end screen. That's Galileo. She's my cat. She's perfect. I love her so much. I forgot to bring it up on her when I was talking about her reference sheet, but Catalina so she has a job and she needs this job even though she does get an allowance from her pretty, you know, comfortable parents because she has a cat fostering problem. So she's got like 15 cats and obviously she takes care of all of them. She has, I guess she has, I think she has a roommate. I haven't entirely decided, but I think she has a roommate who's home a lot more. So she needs to work to supplement her allowance so she can feed all the cats. Um, which I just think is, and yeah, that's just, I think, a great example of the fact that she's just, uh, 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 bye.